Well, Kat, you first came to know SIDS and Kids SA back in 2015. Tell us how it came about.
Unfortunate circumstances, sadly, as do most parents who come into contact with SIDS and Kids SA. Easter long weekend 2015, my family went to York Peninsula for the long weekend to celebrate Easter, and unfortunately I had a car accident on the North Coast Road, long dirt road leading into Point Turton. My son and my daughter were with me at the time. I lost control of our vehicle on the dirt road and unfortunately crashed into a tree, and my beautiful daughter, Indy Rose, who was 2 at the time, she died instantly, and my son survived. So when we could get back to Adelaide following the accident, within 48 hours, I was not functioning. It's probably the best word. A stranger, there was a lot of commotion when we first got back to Adelaide in that first 48 hours. But a stranger, I remember, came into my bedroom and she introduced herself as a counsellor at SIDS and Kids SA, and that she would be with me for as long as I needed her. So that was my introduction.
That person she came at the right time, didn't she? Because you had plans.
I did. I call her my earth angel. I think most parents who lose a child suddenly, tragically, unexpected, especially when you are the person who is involved in the incident, I think most parents could back me in saying that there is a plan to end your own life so that you are with your child. The will and the determination to survive and be here and live through that pain of guilt and loss, it's very overwhelming. So I did have a plan, and it took that earth angel from SIDS and Kids SA to step me through away from my plan in a path of healing and ability to live.
How crucial was the timing of that visit? The fact that she was able to be with you so quickly after your loss?
I don't think I accepted or was had a complete understanding at the time, because shock and grief combined are a horrendous combination, and when it's your child that has died, it leaves you baffled. So at the time, I don't think I realised just how critical it was. It was only the few weeks post, after we had Indy's funeral, and that's a very robotic, very mechanical process that you have to do. So after the funeral and people stopped visiting, except for my counsellor, I think that's where the critical side of her presence was truly felt, because that's where things settle and that's where my plan came into action. Mm-hmm. So the first 48 hours, I think, is in a grieving parent's world, it's taken for granted almost, because you're not fully comprehending your own loss, much less who's there to support you. But knowing there is someone who is not tied to your situation, who is not connected to any family members or friends or to Indy, and was a neutral who was there for me and only me, I think I realised how important that was. It wasn't about anyone else but my well-being. So yeah, that was very critical, and I appreciate that now more so, looking back.
Yeah, I would imagine in this situation everybody deals with it differently. I'm sure your husband and other family members, your parents and so forth, dealt with it differently. Yeah. And was SIDS and Kids SA able to support them in their own way as well?
Yes. So initially, in the first few appointments with our counsellor from SIDS, my husband was part of that. But then he could see the need for me in my guilt and grief to have someone solely for me. My parents felt that they had lost their granddaughter and their daughter as they knew her, and their grief was dual, it was double. So we were very fortunate, something I didn't realise at the time, but my parents were also seeing my counsellor on a separate entity for them, for the grieving grandparents, which is very different from the grieving parent. And then I discovered that my friends were also in contact with my counsellor because they wanted to know how to best support me. And so our counsellor was also offering advice, assistance to help my friends help me in the healing process. So it is about me and my husband, but the support, it's like a wave effect.
Ripple effect.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, you don't realise that at the time.
Would you have got through the grief and the shock and the guilt without SIDS and Kids SA?
Absolutely not. Hand on heart, not. Because it took a lot to talk me out of what I had planned, because it made so much sense. It made sense to me that I needed to be with my daughter because my husband was here to look after my son. And I think that's a very natural process for a grieving parent who is involved. The guilt is something that I will carry for my life. But I've learnt to manage it and talk myself through it and understand that this is not anything that was an intentional. That's why it's an accident. And Indy would not want her mum to carry guilt as a burden when I'm trying to live life for, in her honour, but also for my living family.
They saved your life?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would not be here today without.
Tell us about Indy Rose.
Oh, dynamite. Little platinum blonde, blue-eyed dynamite. She had personality to boot. She was the boss, and my beautiful son, who's 3.5 years older than Indy, he knew she was boss, and he played along and let her be boss, but it was because she had no fear. Where he was quite a timid first child, I was probably the helicopter parent, whereas Indy, I was just like, hey, I've done this before. She had a lot more independence, a lot more freedoms. She just was gold, and it was beautiful to watch my son allow her to be that dominant figure in her own way. She was that one that brought a smile to the room because she was so funny. She was such a little Brutus, just walked into a room and I'm here.
Yeah. I've arrived.
Yeah, I've arrived. And it's amazing, when she did die, a lot of people said we will miss that element of that big, bold personality that was a reflection of me, who I was, but a smile that could just change the dynamic of a room. Yeah, she was just divine.
We've had some wonderful news with funding for SIDS and Kids, which just gives us such certainty about expanding our services. How important is this for the South Australian community? You know firsthand how much needed this is.
It's a really difficult one because the funding that has been provided is a game changer for bereaved parents. And it is not a spoken about topic. Child death, it's not pretty. People shy away from grief, especially when it's the death of a child. But what that funding can do, we've been so captured in a charter of conception to age 6. But what about the 7-year-old? What about the mum and dad who lose a 13-year-old who the pressure of school, they can't see their way through and they decide to end their... Where are those parents going? Where is their earth angel, like I had? So I think the difference that the funding is going to bring to our organisation and to the South Australian community is that there will be an earth angel to help for children to age 17, because death doesn't stop at age 6. So a free service with a professional to walk through that journey in those critical moments where you are choosing where to go with it, and to broaden that and allow so much more of the South Australian community to be a part of that and have that opportunity, it's life-changing. And I hope the South Australian community take this on board and know that our services are available to support.
And in a timely manner, as you know firsthand, the fact that we can now provide this service to families quickly.
To know that there is someone just for you, even if it's just the phone call to say, I'd love to come and see you, can we make a time? Because all of a sudden you've got someone who is there for you. And I think that's so critical and timely. Yeah, time is of the essence when you lose a child.
It's wonderful that the South Australian Government has recognised the need in the community.
Oh, yeah, it's not pretty. It's not a pretty topic. But I think my motto has always been, know that it can't save my child's life, but it can save mine. And I think we need to look at that in terms of hope. Yes, there's hopelessness that our child has not survived, but the hope that the parents can re-step back into the community, society, their work roles, be support to other siblings if there are other children involved, be a daughter to their own parents. I think it's critical and it's a game changer.
Wonderful. Is there anything else you want to say, Kat?
Just thank you to the government for recognising the importance of what this organisation provides to parents in their time of need, and that, yes, hope transfers to the parents. So in deep loss, there is also hope for the parents, and it is so amazing to see that the government have acknowledged that, have seen the need for it, and the fact that we can now expand to allow parents of older children to get the support that I got. So I'd just like to say thank you to the government for recognising that, acknowledging it, and making the difference that we can provide.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.